What's happening, people? Welcome to the video. This one is all about communication, and if you've not seen, this is part of a series about really good fucking management within the business, and key areas that you need to really get like properly locked in. So if you haven't seen the first couple of videos, that might help to see them first before this one. I'll put a link below that so you can get them. But in video 1 we covered expectations of people. In video 2 we covered the accountability of part of people, and this one is all about communication, because communication, look, we've all fucking heard it, communication is key, but what does it actually mean to people like you and me who want to understand in a simple, easy way? What do you mean by communication? Because it's not as simple and as clear as people make out. It can be difficult, it is hard. So I've got different points that I'll go through, and there's some actionable steps within this video to really up your game in your communication so that you can run a better team, a better business, and just be a better communicator all round. Before we kick in, everyone knows that things only ever break down because of bad communication. That's it. Things never break down because of great communication. It's never, yeah, well, I was really clear on what you said and I really understood it and I really got it, so I'm fucking off, or this is not happening. That never happens. Things only ever go wrong. Relationships only ever end or go fucking sour because of bad communication, poor communication. So it's vital to get right. Now I want to just plant a seed in your head for watching this. You imagine a scenario of going to war, right? The Germans are on the fucking beach and, you know, everyone's got a club together and fight the Germans. It's never ever going to work if everyone's just doing their own thing and no one's standing up, taking ownership and being the communicator of being clear of, right, let's all huddle together, we're going to attack these fuckers from the left because of this, and this, and that gives us our best chance of winning the war. In that scenario, the flip side of no communication and being absolutely poor at it and being like, well, I assumed Gary knows to fucking shoot the Germans. That's not going to work, is it? It's not going to wash. It's never going to happen. So with that in mind, you understand that you can't just expect people to do things and assume people to do things. Look, we've all heard it, assumption, mother of all fuck ups. Whenever you assume something, you're going to get egg on your face. So with that in mind, look, now we've got that view planted, let's go over 6 things that I've got that will help you be a better communicator. Number 1 is being absolutely clear yourself on what you want people to do. Like absolutely being locked in your own mind. I'm crystal clear. I want that person in that job to do this, and I want them to do it in this specific way. If you're not clear in your own head, how the fuck are you going to convey that and tell other people to do it? It's just not going to happen because you don't know what you fucking want yourself. So you've got to be crystal clear yourself. Step 1, absolute clarity. That is what you want. That's how I want things to be done. You cannot move on past any of these steps if you don't get that bit right first. Then number 2, as a leader, you've got to identify the talkers and the quiet people. And what I mean by that is, you've probably been in a scenario yourself. You've been in a meeting room full of people. There's 10 people. There'll be 4 people that talk and talk and talk and want their voices heard. And then there'll be the rest of the people that are just the quiet people, don't really contribute, don't really say much. Now, in my experience, the people that are quick to talk and quick to put input in is the people that don't fully know what they're talking about. They're trying to convey like strength and masculinity, should I say, and authority. Whereas what I've found is that the quiet people are generally the people that have got some really good, constructive and concise knowledge and input to put in, but they're just not as confident, they're not as extroverted, so they're the people you want to listen to. So the job as a leader is to give the talkers their couple of minutes to get stuff off their chest, but then go, okay, that's great, but now let's hear from everyone else and let's get an educated and full input from everyone, and bring up the quiet people. Because I'll tell you this, I guarantee you it, the quiet people have got some answers to the problems that you're going through. They've got some solutions, but they just won't say it because they're not that type of people. So identify the talkers, identify the quiet people, and bring everyone to the table. Bring them out of their shell. Because just because they're quiet, it doesn't mean they don't know what they're doing. Then number 3 is all about emotional control. Now, what I mean by that is, when something really shit happens, what I learned is never ever react in the moment. If you react in the moment, you are not going to say something intelligent. You're not going to say something that's going to be good or productive. There is a fact of human psychology that when emotion is high, intelligence is low. It's just that your brain cannot process and work in a certain way. I won't get too deep into it, a bit too technical, but it works in that way. So if someone's fucked you over or done something stupid, if you react right there in the moment, you're going to say something stupid yourself. You're not going to give really good, clear communication and direction to that person of what you want them to do or how you want things to be handled. Now, the same is to be said as well on a high. Like when you've had a really good result, you might have made a really good bit of money, a job might have gone really well, or you might have had a really good touch on something. The same thing then, if you're really in a high emotional state, you're not going to be a great communicator. You're probably going to react and do something maybe you shouldn't do if you think about it properly. So just adopt a 90-second rule. Never react in the moment and you'll instantly be a better communicator. Then number 4 is all about understanding, because you will find that when you say something to people, if they don't know where you're coming from, they're not really going to take it on board because they can't process it. So what I mean by understanding is that rather than telling people something, people learn from what they see and what they get, what they understand, right? So in terms of the business and building a team, what I find works really well, because we've all experienced this, like give you an example on like apprentices, they don't fucking get it, they just don't understand stuff, or they've got no understanding of anything because they're just a bit wet behind the ears. What I find really good is to put that apprentice and let them mirror different people in the business, and it works for office people as well. So an admin person, a QS, a project manager, even senior people, it doesn't matter what position they're in. If you stick them with other people that do other job roles for a couple of hours each time, so that they can really learn and understand what that person actually does, they're going to have a better understanding of stuff, so that the communication is going to be easier, because they've witnessed stuff, they've witnessed what that person has to do, how it works. Because your staff, they don't understand that you have spent money, you invested money to build a business, you are spending money to price work, you are a lot of times not winning work. You know, you've got to win the work to make the money, you've got to juggle a lot of different stuff. They don't know you're going through that because they don't comprehend it. There's a lack of understanding. So if you adopt this, and this is, by the way, is a great way of introducing a new person to a business, because when someone's new, you're not really going to get them working straight away anyway. Like, they've got to have time with different people, but that's the best way of doing it, is going, right, Monday you're going to spend a bit of time with Tony, Tuesday you're going to spend a bit of time with Sharon, Wednesday you're going to spend a bit of time with fucking Susie in accounts, so you understand how they work and what they go through, so that the communication is going to be so much easier because they just fully get stuff. So adopt that in mind, of just expose people to the different roles in the business. Then number 5 is all about repetition. Poor leaders are going to assume that you can say something once and then it's done, it's dealt with, you never have to go there again, which is complete bollocks. You're going to have to keep going over stuff, keep setting the standards in the ways of things like toolbox talks, management meetings, team building stuff. It's a constant thing. It never stops. Like, nothing is ever say it once and it's done. You've got to say it over and over and over again. And sometimes it feels like, fucking hell, banging my head against the wall, and I said this and this 30 fucking times. So it is. People make mistakes. People aren't you, they're not driven as much as you to run a business. They're different, so you need different people. But as a leader, you've got to understand that and accept it, that it's a constant evolving thing. You cannot just say something once and let it go. It's repetition, repetition, repetition. You've got to keep doing things over and over again. Then number 6 is understanding that communication is only a small part of it, is what people actually say from their mouth. What they're saying by their body language, what they're saying by their tone. Like, give you an example, you can have a ding dong with someone and they don't actually say anything physically, nothing comes out of their mouth, but they shrug their shoulders, they mope about, they're fucking low, their heads down. You say to them, well, what's the matter with you? And they go, I didn't say anything. And it's like, well, I know you didn't say anything, dickhead, but it's obvious. It's the body language. You've got to be able to pick up on the small little details of, it's actually more what people aren't saying. If you can register that and understand it, that you've got to pay attention to everything, because the moment someone's quiet, then they're normally a bit more chirpy and chippy. Maybe they've got something going on. Maybe there's some shit at home. Maybe there's something going wrong in their life. So maybe that's the time that you need to say, are you all right, mate? Do you know what I mean? And talk through what they might be going through. So don't just take it as gospel what people are saying, because sometimes people say stuff they don't actually mean as well, because they don't want confrontation. They don't want to have situations that makes them uncomfortable. So as a good communicator, picks up on everything, not just what the verbal is being said, but how they're actually like interacting and engaging with other people. Really big part of communication. And then lastly, I just want to explain that humans work with two types of communication of understanding, right? So there's logic, and then there is emotional. And it sounds weird for geezers to be talking about emotions and stuff, but it's not about crying and fucking being upset. It's the emotional side of the brain. So human brain's two sides, logic and emotion. Logic is the maths, the hard cutthroat. You can't argue with it. Like 50 plus 50 is 100. That's logic. And if you've got £100 allowed for something, but it's going to cost you 120, you are losing money. That is a logic end of. There's no emotion attached to that. The numbers don't lie. But the emotional side is the knock-on effect to that, which people don't always fully get. So the knock-on effect is the company's losing money. Might mean that you can't make payroll this month. It might mean that you can't invest in certain things. You can't go out and team building stuff because you haven't got the money, because there was a fuck up on site or on a job or on a project. Now, here's the key thing. Some people take logic more than others. Some people are more emotional based. So when you explain things in both parts, you're then covering it that people are going to understand and listen to you and get what you actually mean and where you're coming from. So I think that's really important, just to get in your head, not to go too deep into it, but people work with logic and emotion. So if you can communicate based on those two things, you'll be on a fucking flyer. All right, so cool, that's all about communication. I haven't gone too far deep into it, but like I said, there's the beginning videos in this series you need to check out that will be below this. There will be a couple more in this series on about management and how it all links together. So if you haven't already, like and subscribe, get yourself in a position to get it as soon as the video comes out. And you know what, fucking support what I'm doing on the page and like help me share this around and get the good message out of how to run really good businesses and basically how everyone can fucking win and get to the next level of where you want to be. See you on the next one. Bosh.